When you start talking to the people who run multi-trillion dollar, multi-billion dollar companies, when you start talking to the upper echelon of everything, they're all hired. They all work for somebody else. They work for a board of directors. They work for a board of advisors. They work for a CEO who is still, overseeing things, but or they work for an owner who's overseeing the CEO. So what I'm always shocked to find is that when you're dealing with senior level executives, you really are dealing with people who are trying to please someone else. And their challenge is that they carry all this responsibility, all this risk, and everybody beneath them doesn't share that burden. So they feel pinned between a hierarchy of people who don't care as much as they do and an accountability board that isn't as well spoken or well versed as they are. So it's this place in the middle where they are carrying just tons of stress and tons of concern and tons of fear. And the common denominator between all of them is usually that even though they carry all that stress, they find some way to cope with the stress. And they recognize that they're coping with the stress. So what they want is healthy coping mechanisms. Because without knowing what the healthy mechanism is, they will revert to coping in unhealthy ways.
Yeah, I think, right, they recognize they probably I always talk about like the rock bottom moments. They probably had that, and they're a very unique type of person. They can handle tremendous pressure. And, right, and there's tools, like you say, to do it. They're doing it, they recognize it, and just it should be healthy, right?
But I also want to highlight that the vast majority of my clients are not owners. They're executives.
Yeah.
When you start talking about the, decimillionaire, centimillionaire CEO owner, that's a person who's developed their own healthy coping mechanisms to build their legacy. It's very, very different. Like your successful entrepreneur has, like, the sky's the limit. They can go anywhere they want. But when you start talking about the CEO of Google, the CEO of YouTube, the CEO of CVS Health, the CEO of Booz Allen Hamilton, those are not the owners. Those are not the people who founded the business. Those are career executives who were hired and vetted, and now they are just carrying out another job. What you do and what I do every day is most certainly not just another job, right?
Yeah.
We are building a legacy for our children. We are wedded to this baby in a way that no CEO who was hired could ever be.
And I assume that when you say the sky's the limit, for a founder, an entrepreneur, I mean, I guess that, they figured out their healthy coping mechanisms at some point.
Well, they don't always, but they can. But the main thing that's magic about a founder is that we have the ability to turn ideas into money. There's nothing that stops us. When you're a CEO that's hired, you can have all the best ideas in the world, but you still have to get the board to approve. You still have to get the owner to approve. You still have to get the attorneys to approve. But when you are when you yourself are the owner, CEO, founder, people can advise you against your idea all you want, and you tell them to go to hell because it's your idea, it's your legacy, it's your baby. So what I find is that the people who understand and who want that freedom are destined for success. That's why the sky's the limit, because like they'll soar or they'll crash. And half the time after they crash, they'll get right back up and soar again. Whereas when you're a career COO or a career CFO, one crash and your career's over.